Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Ryleigh and Coiled. I'm your host, Ryleigh, and this is my co host, Dad. This is our second episode, which I think is just as special as the first. Today's featured keeper makes and sets up 11 out of 10 star setups, and we're currently setting up 7 enclosures, so we're hoping to get some tips from him. I would love for you guys to meet today's featured keeper, Paul with paul.n.scales.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good
Happy
morning,
to be here.
Paul.
Good morning.
Good
How's
morning.
everybody doing?
Doing great.
Doing great.
That's
So,
good.
Paul, tell us your story. Tell us how you got into reptile keeping.
Yes, this is really interesting because I do have two separate stories. So I'll start with the very first one. So, a lot of people like that are into reptiles were pretty much into reptiles since they were little. Like they like to go out and grab reptiles or any type of animal they see outside. But I wasn't really like that. I was kind of afraid of stuff like that, to be honest. I wasn't the type to just go out and pick up snakes. That was not me at all. I've always been interested in snakes and reptiles, but I wasn't that type of a herp guy. So I really wasn't that type of guy. So I really got into it because of my dad. So my dad, at the time, I was around 9 or 10. He just got into reptiles for some reason. I don't even know what the main reason was, but pretty much he started everything. Started out with a ball python, and then next thing you know, it kind of just went up to many different things. We had some berms, we had some retics. Man, we had some boas. We pretty much had pretty much everything. We had a lot of things at the time. And then my very first animal for myself was a leopard gecko. That was like my very first introduction to reptiles. I think that's a pretty basic species that a lot of people start out with. And that was the first thing that I started with. And this was around 2013, 2012, around that time. But then my brother was born, so I did take a bit of a break. So I took a long break, to be honest. So from like seventh grade all the way up to my junior year of college, I did not keep anything. I was not into any reptiles at that time. So that goes into my second part of my story, is how I got back into it. So I really got back into it because I missed it. um, I was an amateur boxer. So I was boxing from high school all the way up to college. I was competing a lot, and my job today is I'm actually a boxing coach. So I coach up in the west side of Chicago in Humboldt Park. So that is like my real job, is me as a boxing coach. And I was boxing a lot throughout my time in college and high school. So I got back into reptiles at the end of my junior year of college. I had my last fight was around the collegiate nationals. I won the collegiate nationals. That was my last fight up until I got into reptiles again. So I decided, like, after I stopped fighting, I was like, maybe I just need to get into something else because I've been fighting for so long. So I decided that I wanted to get back into reptiles. I came back with a ball python to start out again. I was watching a lot of the Adam Wickens videos, and I kind of just got hooked back into it. And at that time, I was away for years. Like I was not watching reptile YouTube. I wasn't really up to date with the stuff that was going on up until that time. So that time I got a ball python. And then it kind of just went up from there. I got into New Caledonian geckos, pretty much all of them, besides the rare ones like the rough snouted geckos and all that. I didn't get into anything like that, but I had the lychees, the chahuas, I had gargs, and I had crescent geckos. Then pretty much from there, it just went up and up and up. I had a lot of stuff: boas, pythons, mostly geckos at the time. But then right now, with my current collection, I pretty much narrowed it down to carpet pythons. I have some scrub pythons now. I have some white street frogs, got a tokay, and I got into some Pituophis as well. So I got some bull snakes, I got a pine snake, and Antaresia. So I'm kind of more into the Australian species now. But as of lately, I've been really on the scrub life. I'm not gonna lie. I've been really enjoying my scrub pythons that I got from Stephen Cush and Eric Kohler. So I guess that's pretty much what I keep now. And as you see now, I'm very much into building enclosures as well, along with that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, where did you learn? Because we know that you set up your enclosures. Where did you kind of learn your building techniques for that?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, I've watched a lot of different people. Well, to start off, I was honestly pretty intimidated building enclosures. That wasn't really something that like I was kind of nervous making them because I know it took a lot of work and I didn't know if I had the patience to do it. So to start off, like my very first enclosure, like real enclosure that I made where I like really put a lot of time into it was my gecko enclosures. So I watched a lot of Reptiliadis. I think that's a pretty familiar name when it comes to the geckos and lizards. He makes some really nice enclosures. Mike Taitula as well. He makes really good enclosures. I got the cork, like the insulation cork method from them because I know for their backgrounds they use the cork panels. So that's a technique that I use that I learned from them. But when it comes to the foam and pretty much the realistic rock type of enclosures, type of backgrounds, I mean, came from Serpa Designs. I was watching a lot of Serpa Designs, and honestly, he was the one that I really watched. I didn't really watch anybody else but him. And that type of stuff just intrigued me, just seeing how you could build something like that out of foam. And I just think it's insane. Like, I didn't think you could do something like that. And I didn't realize that it wasn't as difficult as what people would probably think. So I guess my building techniques were pretty much inspired from them for the most part.
That's amazing. So, talking about your setups, do you have like live plants and like bioactive, or do you just do like fake plants?
Yeah, so for my enclosures, I do use live plants. Pretty much the ones you see behind me. The one that I'm pointing at is my tokay gecko enclosure. In that enclosure, there's some snake plants, there's some dracaena in there, mostly pothos too. So I do use real plants. I got some palms in my white tree frogs enclosures. And right at the bottom, you kind of see where my finger's pointing at. Those are some dwarf umbrella plants, umbrella trees. So I'll be using that for my scrub python enclosure. That'll be coming soon. So, but when it comes to plants, like it depends on the species that you're keeping, of course, and it depends on the environment. Um, for my Kankakee bull snake that's down right here, I do use grass, some sort of reed grass for that, kind of to replicate whatever's in the prairie lands in Kankakee. That's something that I really wanted to do. For my arid species, I also use grass, not just for the brettles and the inlands. But for the most part, I try my best to always use live plants, especially for my bioactive enclosures. I do use fake plants for my racks. That's something that we could also talk about is how I keep stuff in racks because I do keep them a little bit differently than other people, I would say, when it comes to rack keeping. So yeah, so for the most part, yes, live plants for me is very essential. I need to have live plants in my enclosures, especially because they're in my room and I need to see. I want to look at a masterpiece every time I walk into my room. Like that's just how I am, and that's just how I want the aesthetic of my room to be. So live plants for sure is a must for me.
So
That's
when you're
awesome.
picking an enclosure to build per that species, are you doing a lot of research on the environment where that animal comes from, or where are you getting your ideas for that?
Yeah, so I get a lot of my ideas. I see a lot of iNaturalists for sure. I think about specifically for my Brettles Python enclosure and my inland carpet. Like I was really looking at the rock formations that they have in Australia and the coloration for sure because I feel like that's the way to get ideas. If I'm being honest, like looking up pictures of where the animals came from. I also have for my carpets at least I have Nick Mutton's book. So in Nick Mutton's book, there's a lot of pictures of the environment of where these
Yeah.
animals came from. So that's something that I definitely keep in mind and I have in my back pocket to make sure. That's honestly one of the harder things. Is kind of looking at the environment and making sure that you could kind of replicate it in a way. Just because, nature could be very variable. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but at least, you can make it look somewhat like that, right? Hmm.
That's awesome. So, talking it because you mentioned your racks, how do you do
Hmm.
that?
So my racks, so I keep the only things that I keep in racks are I have a little pine snake that's still in there. He's very young, so I have him just in the rack. The barneck scrub python I have is in the rack just for me to build the enclosure, and I just got him recently as well. So I just want to make sure he's eating and all that. But primarily the other ones that are in there are my Antaresia, my Western Simpsons pythons, my granite spotted, and also just my striped spotted. So I have my Antaresia in those racks for the most part. And that's actually a rack that my dad made for me. So this rack is, this is a 34-inch tub. So it's almost about 3 feet. So it's a pretty big tub. And pretty much I set it up with some aspen. And then I do use fake plants for that. I do use real wood and branches and jungle vines and pretty much the way that you would build a naturalistic enclosure, except I just put it in a rack form.
That's really
So
interesting.
yeah. And it is heated by heat tape as well. Which substrate could be for some, it can be kind of difficult to kind of narrow down, but I've been testing it a lot lately. So the heat tape has been doing really well and it's penetrating through the substrate just enough. So my racks don't overheat or they don't underheat either. So it's just right. But it did just take some trial and error for that.
Talking about heating and temperatures, do you do night drops on some of your animals?
So for night drops, I don't have a specific night drop, but all I do, I just turn everything off. So there's no heat in my house. There is heat in my house, but there's no heat, in my cages or anything. Like my lights just shut off. And, relatively to like my room gets around the lowest it really gets is maybe like 74. So it doesn't get very cold. But it'll be a little bit different as well though when it comes to the winter. I'm from Illinois, so and I think you're from Indiana, am I correct? Yeah, you're
Yeah.
from Indiana. So I could imagine that it gets pretty cold there too. But
Unfortunately.
here it gets cold. So I'm still gonna test out in the evening of how cold it is gonna get in my room. If needed, I'll definitely put some supplemental heating if I need to. But in the summer here right now, perfect. Like I just shut everything off as well.
So you've mentioned a couple different species and animals that you work with, and I mean, you keep everything in enclosures, so which one's been like the hardest to make, the hardest to set up?
The hardest to set up. Um,
As far as like making it.
Making it. To me, I don't think it was necessary. I don't think any of them really are hard per se, in my opinion. I just think it's just time consuming. So that could be so pretty much all of them, pretty much, if I'm being honest. Like anything that I had, like my Brettles python, my inland carpet, and this rock background that I made just down at the bottom for a jungle enclosure. Like those ones, honestly, they took the longest. They all take long just because you have to carve, you have to texture properly. You have to get the paint right as well. Like you have to get the dry lock paint right. The tone of how you want it to look. So it takes a lot of mixing colors to make sure that you get the right pigment that you want. Carving could be pretty difficult too. It's just very messy. If you've ever worked with XPS foam, like the purple foam, it's especially if you use a wire brush drill, like you're gonna have to be vacuuming all day. That's just part of how it goes. But at the end of the day, it does pay off. Like it really does pay off. You're not gonna know what it looks like until you paint it, if I'm being honest. And once you paint it, then you could go ahead and you can make your changes from there. But just know that whenever you make it, before you paint, it's not going to look like what you want it to look like. You'll be really shocked
Yeah.
once you start putting dry lock on it. Definitely.
Have you ever played around with the clay epoxy?
Yeah.
Like
So I
making your own
actually,
branches?
that's a really good question. So I haven't, and I really want to try to do it. I know, like Brad's Bioactive Builds, and I know Malik from Goats Wildlife. I've seen him like work with like grout and like Zoopoxy, pretty much all that stuff. The thing with that, I know it does get kind of messy as well, which to me isn't really a big problem because this is already really messy. But I just it's just to me, it's the price, in my opinion. I think it's just a little bit, if I'm doing Zoopoxy, it is a little bit expensive. And to me, I think I could do it the same way with foam. If I have the supplies and if I have the idea, I believe I could do it with foam. Um, it just takes a lot of it'll just take a little bit more time. But I think the costs per se would probably just be a little bit more limited. And plus, I already have a bunch that's been laying around from previous builds, so I just repurpose everything that I use.
Nice, nice.
What is
So,
your? Oh, go ahead, Ryleigh.
so you mentioned like cost and saving money. What are your like tips to saving money when you're building enclosures?
If you're planning to do more than one, you definitely need to get the big sheet. You need to get the big sheet of XPS foam. You need to get the 4x8 sheet. I think anything less than that, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. You need to get the big one. I think too, you need to have extra brush. You need to make sure you have extra brushes and the can of dry lock into paints. You need to get all of that, I would say, in a go, just so if you decide to do more, you have some left over. You don't have to spend more money to get more stuff. Of course, there's going to be times where you're going to need more, but at least you have some foundation and you might have to spend less. So that's just how I would do it. And also, too, like, I was trying to say, like, you do have to be prepared to spend a little bit of money because it's a really big project. And I think that's just something you have to be prepared for. So, but there is
So
definitely ways to save.
have you always kept your animals in built up enclosures? Like your dad, when you said he had snakes growing
Yeah.
up, did he keep
Hmm.
enclosures that were built up like this?
No, he didn't. Definitely not. We've definitely evolved. Like my dad was very simple, just hide, water bowl, newspaper, and pretty human hide, like pretty much just that. And
Mm-hmm.
when I came back, coming from my second story, when I decided that, I'm like, oh, I want to do this again. I just kind of to myself, I was just like, I could definitely keep simple, but when it's that time to make something pretty nice, I definitely want to make something pretty nice. I always thought about it like the way they would do it in zoos. Like I just love like those types of enclosures. And I was thinking I could have that in my room or I could have that in my house. It'll take
Absolutely.
more time, but it's just worth it. Just seeing your animals move in an enclosure like that is just so different to me. Like you see natural behaviors, you see them just climbing stuff that you didn't even think they'd be climbing. It's just aesthetically pleasing, and I just know that it's good for the animal as well. I was never like this to start for sure, but it evolved.
When
What's
did you start building up the enclosures like this?
Yeah, so actually what's really interesting, the first time I did a foam background was actually for my Brettles Python. So the Brettles Python, Ryleigh, that you were talking about that you really like seeing, that was the very first one I've ever made. Um
that's
that took me
great.
about a Yeah, thank you. That took me about a week to do. Um Primarily just because I just like the structures were good. I just could not get the color right. Like I could not get it right. I had to repaint it over and over again because the tannish, brownish, rustic red color that I wanted, it just could not. I just kept messing it up. So that was the very first. That was the very first enclosure I've ever made, and from that very first enclosure, I learned a lot of things. Definitely learned a lot of things. For my next one that I did. So yes, that was my very first one, my Brettles Python. This was just last year, I think. Yeah, last year. Just last year.
Wow. So this is something that just really kicked off with you.
Yeah, it really just kicked off, but I've been pretty consistent with it. So I've always
You've been
that's
busy then.
I've been very busy just doing this stuff. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
for
Yes, sir.
sure.
So, again, you mentioned multiple species, and what's been your favorite species to keep as far as like, you know, of course, setting up the enclosure, making the enclosure,
Hmm.
taking care of the animal?
Yeah. For me, Honestly, arboreals. I just love arboreal style enclosures. I think they're like arboreal species in general are really my favorite. I know I have Pituophis. I love my Pituophis, but like they just don't compare to arboreals to me. I just love seeing like geckos, snakes, frogs, or anything in that nature that are just up in the air on a tree perching and just being up top and climbing. I just love arboreal snakes and species in general. So just anything that's like that, to be honest. I really enjoyed, I mean, this is recent, but I really enjoy my scrub pythons. I love them. They're so, they move like a colubrid, but in a python form, which is so like different to me. The way that they look at you is just completely different from like, say, a carpet python. It feels like my bull snake. When my bull snake's looking at me, I feel like it's the same as when my when my scrub pythons look at me. It's a little different and it's a lot more challenging in my opinion. At least one. My one scrub python, my northern scrub, he's very defensive, but once he's on the enclosure, he's okay. But the way that he acts like in his enclosure, I'm just like, okay, this is something that I really need to work with. Like unlike my Brettles or my inland, even my Antaresia, my frogs, I feel like I can just pick him up, you know. And same with my dad has some Asian rat snakes as well. He has a Chinese king rat. He has a Vietnamese blue beauty and he has a Taiwan beauty. Like I feel like my scrub python is just like them in a way. Not exactly, but in a way in a python form. I think they're super interesting and I can't wait for them to get large. I really can't
How
wait.
big are your scrubs now?
My scrub right now, the one that my bar neck that I got from Steven, he's around 3 feet, so he's still pretty small. And then my other one, my northern is about he's reaching up to that 3 feet already too. So they're still pretty young. But I'm excited. We definitely had experience with bigger snakes. My dad does have a retic as well. We had some berms, so I'm pretty excited. But this is a completely different beast because they're a lot more athletic. But
Yes.
I've been very consistent with him. My Barnick is not really an issue. He's just a sweetheart, which is awesome compared to my other one. But I've been working with them a lot. I put a lot of time into them, making sure that I'm they recognize who I am, and just building some habits to make sure that once they get a little bit bigger, I'm not trying to get bit by a really big scrub like that. So just working with them continuously.
It's the anticipation of them getting big because you're just like, I can't wait to
Yeah,
have a huge, impressive snake, you know?
yeah,
Feel
yeah,
that.
I just can't. Yeah. And also too, I'm not that big of a gecko guy anymore, but I do say the one gecko that I keep is my Tokay gecko. He's right here. I don't know if you even see him, but his tail is right there. But this Tokay gecko, I'll tell you, like I don't think I'll ever keep another gecko species again, to be honest, just because my focus is more on snakes. But if I were to keep another gecko species, it would be tokays. I think tokays are the I'm not saying they're the best pet gecko because they're definitely not, in my opinion. But this guy, this guy specifically, I got him at my local pet shop. He was captive bred at my local pet shop. He was probably already a year old at that time, and this thing never hides. Never hides. A lot of tokays, if you have experience with tokays, they're always hiding. You just never see them. And if you do see them, they just dart off. This guy he never hides. He's always out. I tong feed him. Like if I tap my tongs, like he just jumps right in. It's super awesome. Like I will never. This is a gecko that I will always have. They're great. They're definitely my favorite gecko. And making the enclosure for him too was awesome. I have some bamboo, some natural cork on there as well. So seeing him move around and do his thing in there, super fun.
What size enclosure is that?
Say it again.
What size enclosure is that he's
This
in?
is a 18. This is a 18 by 24 by 36.
Okay.
So it's a 36 tall, 18 width, and 24 long.
So on your scrubs, when they do become large animals, what are you envisioning for their enclosures?
I
Because
want
they're
something
going to
really
need some
big.
space.
Yeah, I do want a really big enclosure. I was thinking, I know Stephen Cush keeps his in a pretty decent enclosure as well. I do want a little bit more height. So I'm looking maybe potentially a 6 by 3 by 3 and even bigger. So I'm looking for something that size, definitely bigger. So something that large.
That's nice, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm hoping too that I could still plant some plants. It'll be a little bit difficult for sure, but I'll definitely find a way. There's going to be a way for me to do it. Whether it's keeping the pots in there or using just heftier plants, definitely something that I'm very interested in, and some big branches for sure.
that's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
have you had any problems with any animals like squishing your plants and killing them?
Oh yeah. The biggest one was my Dumerals boa. I had a Dumerals boa that was about he was over 5 feet. When I had him, he was a maybe like 5.5 foot snake. Yeah, he just trampled all my plants, and I just, I'm like, all right, this is just not for you. But pretty much, I tried. I definitely tried. The only thing he didn't kill was my snake plant. That's it. Everything else just bulldozed over. But that's what happens though when you have a big snake, right, or bigger species of anything, right? They're just gonna trample your little plants, and that's just how it is sometimes. Um, so yeah, that's definitely the case with my doom rolls. My geckos and my other snakes right now, they're okay. They're pretty much okay. But when they do get bigger, I do anticipate, something like that happening. And if that means that I have to, replenish the plants, I'll replenish the plants. I think it'll look really good. But if that's needed, I'll do it.
So do you not have your doom roll anymore?
I do not. I do not just because I was kind of transitioning to a different collection, right? Because I wanted some scrubs. I wanted to lead more arboreals. Um, so I no longer have him. He's with a different person that I met. We had a really good conversation, and he's living a pretty good home. So,
Awesome.
and honestly, one of my favorite boas. I don't know if do you guys keep Dumerals boas?
We do not.
You do not. I think they're awesome. I think like that man, that's really one of the best pet snakes if I'm really thinking about it. I still think that Pitchewolfus is the best pet snake in my opinion. But Dumerals boa, I think that even though they get a little bit larger, I still think they're one of the best pet snakes. Super chill, super handleable, pretty impressive snakes, and I wish I would definitely have one again. That's definitely a snake that I would have again for sure.
That's one of Riley's things, is that she wants to kind of get people out of the mindset that ball python is the best pet,
Yeah,
first pet snake,
yeah.
because there are so many other species out there that would make amazing pets.
Hmm.
You might have to do a little bit more research, but there are so many amazing animals out there that make
Yeah.
great first pets or pets, period.
Definitely. Definitely. I was I have several honestly. Like I was thinking to myself because I did keep ball pythons too, but I think there's a lot of easier animals actually um to care for. In my opinion, a lot of the Australian species are pretty easy to care for in my opinion. At least here, it's not a big we're in the Midwest, humidity isn't really a big issue. Here, like I think Brettles are really good first pet snakes, even though they get a little bit, larger. I think carpet pythons in general are great first snakes, in my opinion. Inlands I think of, right? Pituophis I think of, especially because they do get large and, they thrive pretty good in pretty much room temp. But ball pythons are still awesome snakes. I really enjoyed keeping them, even now. Like I still would. I never had a pied ball python, but maybe one day if I were to get into ball python, I just want a plain old pied. You know, one day for sure.
That's kind of the thing that, because there's so many like amazing beginner species. If you just want like something that you don't care about what it looks like, it's just an animal. Like there's so many better ones. But that's kind of the
Hmm.
thing about ball pythons is there's so many morphs, so many like different colorations and patterns you can get that's kind of just why I feel like I'll never get out of ball pythons because
Hmm.
I mean you can't really beat that, you know?
Yeah, they're beautiful. They're beautiful animals, to be honest. They really are. Even just a normal ball python. I love how they look. But yeah, definitely. Ball pythons are great. They're great animals. I just don't, for me at least, they're a little bit, personally, I think they're a little too placid for me. I just want something that moves a lot more. Um, that could give me a little bit more interactive is kind of what I'm thinking. That's just me personally, but there's nothing wrong with ball pythons. I love them. Like I would still definitely recommend them for anybody. They're great snakes for sure. Very great snakes. I actually didn't get to talk about I don't know if you had questions about like how to build the enclosures themselves. I actually didn't get to talk about supplies and size of the enclosures and all that. I didn't even actually. I don't think I got into that. Just talking about how to actually build these things.
Well, then go ahead. Give us the
Yeah.
spill. Everything we need to know.
All right.
Well,
So
you,
yeah, go ahead.
we kind of went on the topic of when you go to build an enclosure for a species,
Mm-hmm.
the type of research you do and how you want to visualize the enclosure that you're going to build. So you've got a Brettles python that you're going to build an enclosure for. You know the enclosure size. So what kind of materials are you going to need now, and how do you go about building that?
Yeah. So pretty much, like I said, I do use XPS foam. I do use different sizes. So sizes meaning I was thinking more widths, like different widths. So there's 2 inch widths, there's I believe 1.5 inch width, and there's a 1 inch width. Personally, I would go with 1.5 inch width for the base itself. I think that's a pretty good width for the enclosure, and I think it doesn't take up too much space as well to make it to make the enclosure a little bit smaller. Because if you do a 2 inch, it does get thick. And think about it, like if it's 2 inches to the side, 2 inches to the other side, and 2 inches to the back, it minimizes your enclosure a little bit. So it lowers the volume in it because of the foam. So I would definitely go with maybe just a 1.5 inch width. To start off of. I use it for all 3 sides of the enclosure. So think about it as like a blank slate. Blank slate on the side, blank slate on the other, and on the back. So that's kind of what I do. And then from there, you just pretty much use the rest of the foam from 1 inch to 2 inch. You could pick whichever one, and then that's how you make you make your structures based off of that. So the way that you could do that, there's many different ways you could do it. I use a hot knife or a hot wire. That's something that I definitely use to carve things because it's a lot easier. If you want something a little bit more gritty, you could go ahead and just use a X-Acto knife, like a regular plain old knife that you could just chip away on. So you got the knife, you got a hot knife, and another really important thing is a wire brush drill or some sort of wire brush. That's what's going to get your textures, especially on the rocks. If you're doing, say, like a dirt style enclosure, like the background is kind of like substrate in a way, like you've seen a lot of the gecko people do that. They use so pretty much the wire brush could do something very similar in that way. Texturizing is a really big thing. Because if you don't texturize the foam, it just looks like foam, if that makes sense.
That's right.
Like it looks
That's right.
very much like foam. Like you just put a foam box in there, so you have to texturize and you have to make sure that there's some layers into the rocks. So that means if you have to chip away on the foam, chip away on the foam. If you need the wire brush, you need the wire brush. And from there, pretty much, I like to use sticks. What are they called? I'm
Dowels?
blanking. What are those called? Toothpicks. I like to use
dowels?
toothpicks. Well, yes, and toothpicks. Toothpicks as well, because like if I'm doing ledges or like a separate rock formation, I like to use toothpicks to stick them right on that foam background. And then from there, I use the spray foam. Spray foam is a really big thing that you need to use. Spray foam is great
So how
because
are you adhering?
Yes, say it again.
Like if you're building a rock ledge,
Yes.
how are you adhering your layers together?
Yeah, so good question. So I use spray foam. That's pretty much the adhesive. That's what I use as an adhesive is a spray foam. The spray foam, if If you stick the ledge into the foam and then spray foam around the edges, that's what's going to lock it into place. If you want to sandwich, say two rocks together, spray foam around it because it hardens everything together. And from there, you could go ahead and carve it the way that you want to carve it. You could use the knife to carve the foam, or you could wire brush it as well to blend everything in. Like, think of it like sanding. Like when you have to sand a piece of wood, you want to get all the marks off so it's all in the same uniform shape and smoothness. Think about it that way as well when you're doing the rock formations with the spray foam, making sure that everything is together for that. So, and you could do that pretty much for everything. The same principle applies for every type of ledge that you make. No matter what size and everything.
Are you putting any adhesive? Like you've got your back of your enclosure and you have your rock ledges coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you putting? You said you put spray foam around the edge of that rock layer, but are you putting anything in between here and the rock molded rock?
You're saying from the rock to the foam. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So that's
just going.
You have to spray foam around it. So you have to spray foam together just like this. So then the foam, like the background foam and the ledge, are like adhered together like that.
So the only thing adhesive holding that together is the spray foam around the edge of your rock build out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. The only thing, of course, it's not going to stick when it's not hardened. So you just have to put something to prop it up to make sure it's holding. But the moment it hardens, it sticks like a rock. It's very strong. I think it's really strong. It's stronger than people think. Spray foam, especially if you use a good amount of it. It's definitely very strong. Like my inland carpet, if you've ever seen my page, the way that I made my inland carpet enclosure, there's a big piece of wood that's right across everything, that goes right across the enclosure, and that piece of wood is very heavy. That's like a branch that I got from my backyard. It's very hefty. It's definitely more than 5 pounds. It's very heavy, and it's only held by the ledge and the spray foam that's together. And it's built like a rock. It's not moving at all. So it's
what
people underestimate how strong spray foam is. I just use the great stuff.
Okay.
The regular white great stuff. Great stuff. The regular white great stuff is what I use. Some people use the pond water kind, the one that's black in a green bottle, but I don't personally, because I'm going to dry lock it anyways. So that goes into the next step. The next step is dry locking. And this is the way that I do it. This is my method. Of course, you have to make your structures right first. Your texture has to be good. The way that your layout has to be the way that it is, and make sure that the spray foam is already hardened and carved, right? So from there, I like to use Dry Lock. Dry Lock Original I get the white base. So Dry Lock Original, that's just plain old white. Because from there, you could go ahead and tint it. You have different ways that you could tint it. Some people use acrylic paint to tint, but for me, I use the Quikrete, the cement dyes. Those are what I use. So I have Dry Lock, right? I pour it in a separate cup, and then I go ahead and I dye the Dry Lock. So I do separate batches. I don't dye the whole entire thing, the whole entire gallon. Gotcha. So you have to do separate containers for it. I always like to start off with charcoal. The charcoal is the black that the Quikrete has. I like to start off with black as my base. So I tint the Dry Lock black, and then I just brush it all over the whole enclosure in black. So wait for that to dry for a couple hours. Ideally a day would be really good, but I've gotten away with doing it for a couple hours. Just make sure it's dry to the touch. And from there, that's when you could start That's when you could start finding your colors. Like I was saying, it was so hard to do the Brettles enclosure because I just could not get the tint right. But for reference, Ryleigh, if you're gonna do a Brettles enclosure, start out with
What's
black.
What's the recipe?
Yes, the recipe. So the recipe, pretty much, it's the buff color. That's what it's called. It's the buff Quikrete. buff color, mix it in with a bit of black, brown, and maybe even terracotta, but you may not even need it. But it's pretty much you have to experiment with it, but that's what I do use. I use buff, and I also used the dark brown. That's what I used, and I mixed them together, and I made sure that my consistency was right. Like I was painting it like on a piece of a cardboard to make sure. I'm like, I think this is the right color. So
Mm-hmm.
then I would just do it. But also just know too that it doesn't hurt if you mess up is to try again. It doesn't hurt. You could still repaint it. Just make sure that it's dry. So, and
Now,
then from there you could, yes,
are you adding
say it
any
again.
kind of sand or anything like that to your paint so that it gets more of a texture of a rock?
Mhm. So I don't because the texture is already done with the foam. So a lot of the texturizing and a lot of that type of stuff is from the prep. The paint is just there to do its thing, but the better you prep your foam in texture, the better it's going to look. That's something that, even when I was done with everything, there were some spots where I'm just like, ugh, I don't really like that. I think that looks a little bit too bald. It looks too bald. So I need to texturize a little bit more and just paint over it again. So yeah. And then from there, right, when you get your paint, you could do a bit of highlighting, right? You could start with white, and maybe there's some spots where you think, oh, maybe maybe you need brown here because I think it would look a lot more grittier, or it would look a lot more natural if you put more black, if you put more brown, right? Because like for the Bretels, for example, not everything is red, right? Not everything is red like that. There's a
That's
lot
right.
of there's a lot of rock formations that there could be some red, but then there's a bit of brown splat on it. Stuff like that. I think like goes a very, very, very long way, and that's where the reference photos play in, right? If you see
Yes.
some of the
Oh, yeah.
rocks, right? If you see some of the rocks that they're not just uniform, so from there, just chip away. Use your imagination from it. There's no right answer to making rock
That's
formations
right.
or even some sort of back. There's no right answers. So use your imagination. If you think it's too bald, scrape away. If you think uh, if you think you need to add another ledge maybe in this spot because you think it'll blend in very well, go ahead and do that. But a lot of it just takes your imagination, takes a lot of time. But if there's something that you're really invested in, it'll be easy and it'll be a really fun thing to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
So you mentioned like the boards of foam. Have you ever made like
Yes.
a background for an enclosure with just the spray foam?
Actually, with just the spray foam, I haven't. Part of it too, I was thinking about this. I was thinking about different ways you could build the enclosures, but the thing with spray foam is if I'm doing just a very large enclosure and the only thing I have is spray foam, I think that it'll definitely add up in my opinion. And to me, I don't think it doesn't look as natural to me, in my opinion. I think I can make better structures off of the foam because you could carve it the way that you want to carve it. And also, too, I know a lot of people do the spray foam and then they put the substrate over it. I think, in my opinion, you have to buy silicone for that to make sure the substrate sticks. But then there's times too where I think in the long run, like the substrate is going to chip away from the silicone. Because I bought enclosure that's like that already. Actually, right over here, the background is siliconed, and there's some substrate on the adhesive on there, and it's already starting to chip away, and you could kind of see the foam on there already, like the natural foam. So for me, in my opinion, I don't think I would personally do it. I think there's better options. Like I said, another great option is insulation cork. I think that's an awesome option if this is not something that you want to do with a foam. It is a little bit pricier and it's a little bit harder to get online, but that's also a really cool thing that you could do. And I would recommend that for something that's more tropical because the background itself is dark and it almost looks like dirt or bark in a way. And so that's something that I would recommend. And that's also something that you have to texture with a wire brush drill. So a lot of texturing happens into this, no matter what you do.
Have you ever like, because I've seen some builds where they put like, I think it's like live plants, but it's probably fake plants. Have you ever put like a plant into the background?
playing into the background, I haven't personally. I know the one that I have that I bought has like holders that you could put in plants for. But I think I haven't personally. I do want to play. I don't really have a lot of super tropical stuff, I guess. So like maybe if I did dart frogs, or if I did more, maybe some anoles, some like beauty anoles, like larger species like that potentially. With some live mosses and all of that. I haven't, but I think it'd be really interesting to try. If I have something like that, that's very tropical. One more thing, actually, I do have something else to add. I know the background is hard, is a pretty difficult thing to do, but to me, what's more difficult, in my opinion, aside from building the background, escaping the enclosure itself. I think that's like the hardest thing. That I don't think that gives me more trouble than anything is escaping the enclosure itself. Like finding the right type of wood, finding the placement of everything. Like that takes more brain power to me, in my opinion, than like building the ledges and like building the foam background, because the foam background I kind of just zone out sometimes. I'm just like, okay, this is this. I don't like how this looks. I'm gonna change it up. But when it comes to escaping the enclosure itself, finding the right type of woods, finding the right type of cork bark that's suitable for the species that I'm keeping, the hides that it needs, like that's the very difficult part, in my opinion. Because I don't use, in my real bioactive enclosures, I don't use like the reptile basics hides or like those types of hides. All the hides that I have in my yeah, all the hides that I have in my bioactive enclosures are either cork bark that I set up properly so it could properly go into a hide, or they could go under the cork bark. You know, or I have some cork rounds that they could go through, that I could maybe place up top, you know. So everything is real wood. I don't have really any plastic things aside from maybe a water bowl. So scaping is difficult, in my opinion, especially for arboreals. For arboreals is very hard because you got to make sure too that it's still accessible. Making sure that you can still get the animal out without destroying the enclosure. That's something that you always have to keep in mind when building cages. So I try to make it, naturalistic, bioactive, beautiful, right? But I still need it to be accessible for me. And that's something I think that people should know too, is that you got to do, you got to do right for the animal, but at the same time, you also got to make sure that you could monitor them and you could take them out if needed without having to destroy every single thing that you just made. So I think that for me, at least, that's still something that I'm learning. I'm still continuing to get better on that, and it's all through a learning experience. So I guess just now, the more that I'm doing it, the better I'm getting at it.
Most of your animals fairly easy to take out of the enclosures that you have built up?
Yes, actually, very easy. Designed in that way as well. Like my bull snake, my Kankakee bull, I already know where he hides all the time, and I know it's very accessible for me to get. So he's very easy to get from there. My white tree frogs, I know where they always hide. My cork rounds itself, the cork round, there's a big cork tube there, but there's a hole in the middle, so I could see them through there. And if I need to get him out, I can get him out. My Brettles python, I know he's on a ledge. He's always in this ledge by the heat, so I know where to get him from there. My inland carpet, I know that he's always down at the cork bar by his heat as well. So I know I'm here enough to kind of understand where everybody's at. If everybody's not at a certain spot, I'm like, okay, they probably escaped or something, because I know
What are you using?
I designed it for sure. You said what I use for heat?
Yes, sir.
Yes. I use for me. Good question, because Ryleigh was asking me this too. I could go a little bit more in depth with that, because I use basking bulbs, halogen bulbs specifically. I use halogen bulbs that I get from Amazon, like the floodlights. I use that in my enclosures. I think I love the brightness and the heat that it could give. I use 39-watt heat bulbs for my larger enclosures, and for my tokay and for my white tree frogs, I use 25-watt. So I use a 25-watt halogen bulb for those. My Kankakee bulls, they don't use heat. Picture Opus doesn't really use heat. So you really just basking bulbs. I use basking bulbs, and in my racks I do use heat tape plugged into a thermostat for that. And I also don't do like I just shut off everything at night. It gets warm. It's still warm
That's
enough
what
up
we do.
here. Yeah, it just gets warm enough here for me to just shut everything off. In winter, then depending on how cold it is in here, then I might have to use supplemental heating. But at the moment, it's just perfect.
It's
What do you
awesome.
guys What do you guys do for your caging as well?
Ryleigh?
Well, for most of our stuff, we have it on heat tape because most of our stuff's in racks. We have it on heat tape, and then we do night drops for almost everything. Hog Islands get heat drops. Rebels get heat drops. Diamonds get heat drops.
Oh, that's
Colombians,
right.
Brazilians get
Diamonds.
heat drops. Um, Rosies get heat drops, right?
No, they're in a constant heat.
Mm. But the Rosies have brumation too, so that's just like
Hmm.
heat drop for like 3 months. So,
Hmm. How do you
um,
guys like your How do you guys like your diamonds, man? You guys have diamonds. That's so awesome. Oh man, I would want some diamonds one day.
and man, if I could like go back in the past and like before, not necessarily because I don't want the rest of the stuff we have, but more because I'd want to focus on it. I'd be like, really get diamonds, do it,
Yeah.
because they're just such awesome animals. And all the Morelia is very like intelligent. They very much want to know
Hmm.
what you're doing. Like the Brettle that we have in her enclosure, um, every day when you walk into the room, she'll come out of her hide and she'll sit on the perch, just kind of watch you. It's my favorite thing to do is just sit in
That's
front of
awesome.
their enclosures and just watch them.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Speaking of that too, like, like seeing like the way that they move around their enclosures, like the way that I've built mine, it's super interesting because, like I see where my inland carpet, for example, like I know that every morning when I wake up, he's always on top of that branch right by the heat bulb. And then next couple minutes, he's going to go back to his hide. My Kankakee bull, I know when he gets out, he's always on top of his log, like on top of his really big log. Seeing that type of stuff is just super interesting and like their behavior, especially when you make cages like this, like, you have to design the spots where where they're going to be at, right? If you making the ledge by the heat, because that's what they do. Carpets, brettles, they love being on those rock ledges. Seeing that is also really interesting. Seeing the bull move around is interesting. My scrub python every morning he's on top of that wood that he's at. It's super awesome the way that an enclosure could really change your perspective on how they function. Where
That
And it's
where'd you
kind
guys
of
get
funny because they're just such creatures of habit.
right? Right. I was gonna ask you guys, where'd you guys get your diamond from?
Well, we have two pairs.
Okay.
We have a pair of Gosford from Lucas Lee, and then we have a pair of
No, cool.
VA from what's his
David
name?
Kelly. David
Yeah,
Kelly.
David Kelly.
No, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's cool.
And then we got our pair of Hypo Stonewash and Hypo Brettle from Lucas Lee.
Nice.
So
That's
he
cool.
Lucas is such an amazing person. He's really helped us a lot with the Morelia, just kind of helping it, like bringing us up in the community. He's just such an awesome person.
Yeah, I love hearing him talk like in the podcast. Every podcast that he does, I've been listening. He did give me a follow on Instagram because of my inland carpet enclosure. So I was like, shout out, man. That's cool. That's really cool. I know he just bred some inland. He just hatched some inlands too, which is awesome. Really
Yeah, I
cool.
saw that the other day.
Yeah, I love the way that he works with all the Australian stuff. It's just really cool.
So,
But
do you ever see yourself breeding, or are you just strictly a keeper?
right now I'm strictly a keeper, until I get my own spot that I could have a separate room for everything, then definitely. And I'm also too, like, I'm still trying to think about what I do want to breed. Because there's still a lot of snakes that I do want to keep. Like if I like on track right now. Like if I was being honest, if I did want to breed something right now, it would probably be scrub pythons, and it would be just for a personal thing, not necessarily to like make money or whatever. But I just kind of they're super interesting. I think that would be a super interesting project for me one day. Specifically Barnecks, or honestly, pretty much any of them. Like I would love to breed any of the scrubs. I think it would be really awesome. But also too, my dad, it's cool. Forgot to say that, when I got back into reptiles, my dad got back into reptiles too. So it kind of went together. And now like he used to be a big snake guy, but now he's always been to colubrids, but he hasn't kept colubrids until just the past couple years. Um, Man, he has his Taiwan beauty that he got from Rob Zirkle, right? From the Zirkles. He has Vietnamese blue woody and he's a Chinese king rat. So I know for a fact his dream snake is a yellowtail crebo, or pretty much any dry markon is his like dream snake. And honestly, it's one of the snakes too that I really want to work with. I really want some indigos. I think it's indigos or blacktail crebos. I think those are two of like the ones that I'm really interested in getting. And I know my dad for sure, like he wants some crebos. Or indigos, either one. So that is something that I want to work with. And hopefully I can get some. Hopefully I get a pair one day and see how I like it. I still want to try it out, see if they're for me. Then maybe that could be something too that I could work with. But I really do enjoy, man, I enjoy a lot of things. I really enjoy those Asian rat snakes too that my dad has. Um, those Chinese king rats, man. My dad has one Chinese king rat, and he's the first Chinese king rat I've ever interacted with. And a lot of people know that some of the Chinese king rats can be kind of feisty and they pee all over you and all that. But this one is not like that. This one is not like that. It's super active. They move so much. It's starting to turn black and yellow already. Like they're starting to do the color change. And soon enough it'll be dark black. And I'm really excited for that. That's definitely a snake that I'm really interested in too, those Chinese king rats. I do want to get into maybe the locality types. I know there's a couple localities of the Chinese kings. Maybe, who knows? But I really do love Asian rat snakes too. That's something that has a sweet spot for me. Those are awesome. Colubrids in general are really awesome. So maybe that's something that I want to work with more.
So twice a year, you have an amazing show at your back door.
But yeah. Oh yeah.
Do you live at Tinley all weekend long, or?
So I live in Oak Forest. So Oak Forest is basically I live like 4 miles away from the convention center. So
so you take your boxing workout jog to Tinley.
I'm gonna go run
Friday,
there at that
Saturday,
point.
and
Yeah.
Sunday.
Right. Yeah. I was there, man. Not June, but the March. I was there in March and the last October. That's where I got my scrub python. I got my wheat belt Stimsons was there. I got them there too. I met Stephen Cush there. Like, man, I love Tinley. Tinley's awesome. I love that place. I'm so lucky that it's just right down the street. I'm very lucky for that. That's insane. Like the fact that it's a show that big is just right down the corner from me is really awesome. And I really have no excuse not to go, because it's right there. And this was the first year I ever done VIP. And I'll say this, I'm doing VIP for Tinley. Like I'm always going to do a VIP for Tinley. I've never done it until last year. And it was awesome. It was insanely good.
Well, you'll definitely have to look us up and find us when we're there.
Yeah, I saw you. I was looking through you guys' posts. I'm like, you guys were there. Like, what the heck? I was just over there too. Like I saw some pictures of you, Ryleigh, that you were over there. I was like, oh man, I was there too. I was talking to MFA Reptiles. I was talking to just a bunch of people, I guess, learning about stuff. Yeah, I love Tinley. There's so much to look at. Like, I just want to buy everything when I'm there, but I can't, But yeah, this year for sure, I'll be in here. I'll be in for October.
So you have Tinley at your back door, and we have Colubrid Fest right here where we are.
Yeah, you do. Right in Evansville.
In September, they're having Colubrid Fest right here in Evansville.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I really do want to go to one of those.
I want to check it out and see. I'm sure it's going to be top of the top there because there's not really a show dedicated for that.
Are you guys into colubrids as well? Is there something that you guys keep that are colubrids?
Not really. Not really. But bull snakes are amazing. Gopher snakes are amazing.
Hmm.
get gophers. They're
You would get
beautiful.
gophers?
Like,
I love them.
no,
Yeah.
they're beautiful. I don't. They just. That's kind of the thing is they just kind of scare me, just because they're
Scare you?
so little. No.
Oh,
Like whenever, whenever they're like babies and juveniles, they're just so little, and that's my biggest fear is that I would lose one somehow, you know, and it's just kind of scary to me.
Yeah.
They're so little.
Um, I mean, they're small, but they're not like, I don't think they're as small as like baby garters or baby like milk snakes. If
no.
you've seen baby milks and baby king snakes, like,
Yeah.
those things are tiny. Like Pitchawofis are
Yeah.
huge as babies. And I'm still standing by this hill. I think they're like the most underrated snake to me. They're super underrated. The fact that they could get robust, they have really good personalities. They have, I mean, the bull snakes have different locales too, and different morphs, pine snakes, a bunch of different different kinds of pine snake, different types of gophers, and the fact that they could get large, they're interactive. For the most part, a pretty good personality for the most part. Don't let the hiss fool you from these bulls because these guys ain't.
Right.
They're just bluff. They ain't really doing anything. I mean, I don't want to say that because somebody else gets bit, but like they're not. They're really not as they're not. They're really not as bad. They're really not that bad. I think they're great snakes, and honestly, if I didn't have anything, if they said you could really only keep one snake and you can't keep anything else, like I think Pitchawofis would be like high on the list. It would be very much high on the list. They're super easy to care for. They eat all the time. They're tanks, and they're great. They're great snakes. I think that's something that you guys should, if you do get colubrids, I think that's something that you guys should definitely look into. They're awesome. Really cool snakes.
Yeah. My first snake was albino rat snake, and now she's
Mm.
like 6.5 feet long. She's huge.
Oh, yeah.
But man, I don't think she's like ever missed a meal, and she's like
Yeah, it's good.
5 years old, 6 years
Hmm.
old.
7 years old.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh my
wow.
gosh!
It's old, starting to get up there. It's cool.
Like she will eat in like deep blue. She doesn't care. She's like, nope, I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Give me my food.
Yeah. And I think too, like that's why I think I really do want like some Crebos or some Indigos because like the one of the things I really like, I have patience for it, but I also don't have patience for it is like an animal that's like kind of like a finicky eater. I think it's such a headache. I had my spotted python actually, my stripe, I don't really know what's wrong with my striped spotted python, but he's a bit of a special snake. Like he corkscrews and stuff. Like he's a very different type of snake. So I still keep him in the tub. I don't think I'm gonna be putting him in a big enclosure at all because like he has a bit of a hard time like moving into things. He eats, but I think like she was a finicky eater at a time too for a good period, and I was like, oh my god. So finicky eaters are not like my favorite, but if you really like the species for
Yeah.
sure, then that's something that you could definitely work on.
That's kind of like the worst thing about the ball pythons is they'll be eating, they'll be crushing it, and then they'll stop eating for 4 months just on a random Tuesday, it's so
Yeah,
weird.
Yeah,
And
just
they're great
but
because.
animals. They have awesome
yeah,
personalities.
yeah.
They're all super chill, but like,
In,
why?
in your guys' experience, was it like were they adults or were they also like juveniles that just stopped eating?
We've had some that have been juveniles. We've had some that have been adults. Really,
Hmm.
it just
Not
depends on the
not as much
snake.
juveniles, more like the
More
Well,
sub-adults.
adults,
Once
right?
once they hit
Yeah,
like the a
yeah.
1,000 gram, or the males, once breeding season kicks in and they
yeah,
start smelling all that,
yeah, yeah,
they know, they can sense it, they smell it, they know
yeah.
what's going on.
But I think too,
Yeah.
like it doesn't have to be. Is it affecting you guys negatively in a way or no? Or is it just like they just don't want
No,
to eat? They don't want to
no,
eat. Yeah, right.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I guess
mean,
that's a good thing. You kind of save on the food bill a little bit, a little bit.
so speaking of feeding, do you feed live or frozen thawed, or what is your
But yeah,
typical feed method?
yeah, I feed frozen thawed. Typically, like my local pet shops, it's called Animal Island. should check it out if you're ever around here. They do have a bunch of other cool things. I get my rats from them. They're all frozen thawed. I buy a pack at a time every time I'm there. Just to save. But I do feed frozen thawed for everything. If I'm ever in Tinley, if I'm in Tinley, I would buy some quail or some chicks, because it's not super accessible around by me. Like my local shops don't really carry it. Only rodents. So if I want something different, maybe some chicks, some quail, I'll go ahead and go to Tinley and go and grab those. But I do feed frozen thawed. I'm not trying to feed live really unless I have to, but that hasn't never really been the case. So frozen thawed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do the same thing. I'd say about, oh gosh, 95% of our animals are frozen thawed. We do have a
Yeah.
couple that we have. We only have two that will not eat frozen thawed,
Mm,
and they
really?
would just will not do it. So
Okay. Man, it's
Yeah.
been a really long time since I fed live. I don't even remember anymore. The last time it might have been like when I was a little kid. It's been a long time since
that
I've
is a
fed
long
that.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's great and it's easy, but it's just kind of like the risks that come with it just kind of scare me,
Yeah, they could
you know?
bite and yeah, it's not.
And there's
Yeah,
some
you
people
don't
that
have
have
to.
been feeding live for years and they've never had a problem with it too. So it
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Well, who knows? That just probably, that's worked for other people. If that's worked for other people, then, that's worked for them. I think just for me personally, I think it's just easier anyways to feed frozen thawed. Like you just had to put it in the freezer. Like if I had to keep rats and stuff, what are you gonna do if you don't want to eat it? It's just kind of a hassle for me at least in the position that I'm in. So, I don't breed rats or anything. So I think frozen's the way to go for me.
nice, nice. So you've mentioned that you've had like a whole bunch of other species and you've kind of narrowed
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah.
So if you had to like go back in the past and maybe it's an animal that you don't necessarily like the species, but it's just kind of the animal. If you could go
Hmm.
back and tell yourself to keep like one species or one animal, what would it be?
Okay. It's a good question. Man, really enjoyed I really enjoyed my Doom Rules boa. I thought he was an awesome snake. He was really cool. That's a snake that I really enjoyed keeping. I think boas in general are really cool. I think they could get big, they could get robust. I had a BCI. He was awesome. Um, I'm just naming a bunch of things that I really enjoyed keeping, honestly. But I can't. It's really hard to pick one. I've had Honduran milk snakes too. I don't know if you're familiar with those Honduran milk snakes. They're awesome. Those were really cool. I love Honduran milk snakes. They were really like they're big milk snakes, and this one I had a male. He was pretty. He wasn't like his full size yet, but he was very fun to keep. He was very fun to handle. Very beautiful colors. He was a pretty cool snake to keep. I was thinking more on my dad's side, probably like his berms. I really love berms to me. My dad has a pied retic. I love retics. Retics are cool too, but I think I love berms. Berms are awesome. My dad had a hypo, so he had a hypo berm. He had he had a green granite. He had a green granite berm, and he had a green. So those were the three berms that he had, and I loved them. I love berms. I think like if I were to maybe choose one that we kept, definitely a berm. I think I want one berm again one day.
Well, come. We'll be at the Osborne Reptile booth at
Oh
Tinley,
yeah, you got berms.
and it'll be Brandon Osborne, Jeff Herman, and Ryleigh there. And Jeff
Okay.
Herman he'll have Carpondros, carpets, Brazilian rainbows, and Burmese pythons. He'll have some gopher snakes.
I wonder if he'll have any Colombians. I think
He,
he's
he
gotten rid of most of
he might still have some Colombians.
Yeah, you got. Oh
them.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
he
do
might.
guys. You also keep those Brazilian rainbow boas. Those are super cool.
Yes.
How do you guys
I
set? How do
love
you guys
them.
set those up? How do you guys set those up? Because I
We
know like
just have ours in tubs.
okay, do you have like a water bin for them? That's something that they do enjoy.
Huge
If I'm
water bill.
correct.
Huge water
Yeah.
bill.
Yeah.
Huge.
Oh, I forgot to say too. But my dad had a yellow anaconda too at the time when we hit a long time ago. That was a cool snake.
Did you
I
ever
was thinking
handle it?
my dad did. I didn't. I'm like, I'm not trying. My dad's gotten bit by a yellow anaconda a few times. I'm like, I'm good. I'm good on those. I'm good. I'm not. Yeah, yeah, I'm good. But those Brazilian rainbow boas, they're so cool. Like, I think I love like how colorful they are, and they're so iridescent. I think that's too like why I like scrub pythons because they're so iridescent in the right light. But those Brazilian rainbow boas, like when I see a Brazilian rainbow boa anywhere, like when I went to Tinley, even at my local shops, when I see one, I'm just like, this is sick. Like I love like how colorful and like rainbow, like it really is like an iridescent rainbow, like when it
Absolutely.
It really
shines.
is.
What
Yeah,
about
those
like
are
a
awesome.
water python? Have you ever looked into water pythons?
I'll show you the water pythons. I haven't. They're cool too. Those are really interesting. I think
They're very
any of
iridescent too.
those, yeah. I think any of those like that Liasis group I think is pretty cool. Like those Maclots are cool. Olives are cool. Man, olives is probably another one that I'm like olive pythons are awesome. I think that and like maybe Apodora. Like when I see those two, I know they're both olive pythons, but they're not exactly the same thing. But seeing like snakes like that have a little bit of shine into them are like really awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryleigh and I were just talking yesterday about how we really need to get an enclosure set up for our Brazilians and at least just like have one of them on display and then swap them out. It's just the humidity and everything is so easy to keep in the
Yeah.
tub system that we're using.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, for sure.
we
Yeah.
have absolutely had zero issue out of her Brazilians whatsoever since we've had them. So
Hmm.
it's kind of hard to change what
It's
you're
good.
doing when it's going good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's the thing too.
um,
Like if it works, if it works, then and there's no issues that are coming along with it, then just sometimes there's just no I don't think there's a reason to change. But if you're gonna change for maybe like say you want a bigger enclosure, but you just have to replicate the same thing, then yeah. But sometimes like if it works, like it works, um
Hmm.
whatever it is that you need from the animal, or if the animal is doing okay in that enclosure, then I think that's okay too, right?
but they're too beautiful not to display.
That's
Yeah.
true. That's another thing. Um, that's something that you could probably make a paludarium for. I think a paludarium would be really cool. I made one paludarium. I only have one. I made for my brother. My brother has an African bullfrog, a female. So we had an Exoterra, like a 36 by 18, and we did one half. One half is water. The other half is just land. So my brother's African bullfrog is living in something like that.
Very
That's the
cool.
one paludarium I have. Just the one paludarium. um, but
That's
yeah,
awesome.
that's something you could do for sure for a rainbow boa. I think you could, and they don't get so large to where they're gonna trample a lot of stuff either. So I think like some live plants would do really well for them. Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Very cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, the rainbow boas have a very special place in my heart, Colombians and Brazilians. Because really, like, the Brazilians, just a regular Brazilian, I don't think any morph in that species could really top it. Like, they are just
Yeah,
so beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
But then the Colombians, like, I love the normal Colombians. Like, I think that they're beautiful too.
yeah,
But something that really intrigues me is that, of course, like with the ball pythons, it's it's a whole bell complex. Like you throw two genes together and you get a blue-eyed Lucy. But
yeah,
with the Colombian rainbow boas, it's a recessive gene. So the black-eyed Lucies and blue-eyed Lucies are in the same thing. So they can have like
right.
heterochromia while being a black and blue-eyed Lucy.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think like yeah, that's really awesome. Like I think like just the natural color of a normal Brazilian is like it's unbeatable. And I think too, like a lot of these animals, honestly, like a lot of these snakes, a lot of these geckos, like the nothing beats their natural color. I think I'm personally not the biggest morph guy, I would say. I guess I'm more of a locality type of guy. Um
Mm-hmm.
I just think that for me, like I really appreciate the natural coloration of what an animal's supposed to look like. That's kind of like why I don't keep bull snake morphs. I have a kankakee. I have that. I think maybe like I have northern pine. I just have normal northern pine, just black and white. I don't have the albino northern pine. Inland carpet. Instead of getting a xanthic, I just want the natural axanthic and just a species of its own. So it's really awesome. I really do love like the natural look of an animal. I think like another one, honestly, that can't be beaten is what a tokay gecko looks like. Like every time I look at my tokay gecko, the blue and orange dots, like I'm just like, there's no other gecko that looks to me that looks that impressive to me. Like seeing a powder blue gecko that's like this big. That's bigger than my lychee. This thing is huge. Like this thing is probably like he's like 14 inches probably long. It's a big gecko.
Wow.
He's ginormous.
Wow.
He's a ginormous
I
gecko.
didn't know
Like
they got that big.
oh my god, yeah. And what's crazy? Yeah, he's ginormous. Like my lychee, I had a yate locale mix, and I had a nuami and nuana mix for my lycheeanis, and they like the size of them compared to my tokay is just like they don't even like they're not the same. Like the coloration of a tokay is just unbeatable. And the fact that they're so athletic, smart, fast, like I'm like, this is the to me, for my liking, that's the gecko. That's the gecko. Like if I think of a gecko, that's what I think of, if I'm being honest, a tokay. This is the first thing I think of ever since. And like I was always really interested in them either way when I was a little kid, because we used to go to we still do, but we went to Chicago Reptile House a lot because that's like my local reptile shop, run by Brian Potter,
Yep.
so
Yep.
I've always seen tokays, and really like I can't talk bad about them. Like I could just never. I know a lot of people have their thoughts on them. A lot of them, a lot of them do get their reputation. A lot of them are kind of snarky. They're just not like they're not like the friendliest crested gecko type of animal. But if you really interact with
Neither are
them,
lychees.
neither are lychees. Lychees are, man. Oh my god! Now that we're talking about that, like so mind you, this guy doesn't bark. Like he never barks. I could move my hand in his enclosure like this and he's not gonna do anything. Like he's not gonna bark at me, yell at me, or hide, run away. Like he's just looking at me like this the whole time. And like my lychee at the time, I
That's
had a
rare.
yate. Yeah, that's very rare, right? But I had a yate. I had a GT. Yeah, I had a GT cross, and he was mean. Like every time, even from the glass, he's looking at me through the glass and he's barking. I was like, oh, this guy's not
Yeah,
nice.
and
Yeah, he's not a
getting
nice
bit by
guy.
Caledonian geckos is not fun.
Yeah, I don't like getting bit by anything, but getting bit by like a lizard or a gecko, especially with like a lot of teeth and they're large, it's just not fun. Like it's just really not
No.
fun. No,
No,
oh
because
my god.
the worst the snakes will do is they'll bite you. Their head doesn't move, but like the
Yeah.
leopard geckos, the chihuahuas, gargoyle geckos, they like tear you up.
Well, yeah. Oh God. Yeah. My Garg at the time bit me like at the store, at the shop, and also in my finger here at home. I'm like, my hand actually started bleeding. I was like, oh, I did not expect that from a gecko like that small. Um, I
Yeah.
still don't like getting bit. Like I do have like I was talking about my scrub. He's a very defensive snake. He's a very defensive snake in his enclosure. He's getting better. Like he's the only snake I have to use a hook with. Like, and he's not even a big snake, but the fact that he will just light me up, he'll light me up. And like,
Yes.
he'll look at you. He's going to look at you like, hey, you better stay away from me. I'm going to light you up. He's going to do that. He has that look in his eyes, and yeah, dealing with defensive animals too is something that I've really been learning as well. And I kind of want to know your guys' take. I mean, do you guys with the amount of snakes you have, you got to have some defensive snakes too, right?
hmm
Yeah. How do you guys,
Like more so, really, we have some like defensive animals, but we don't really have any mean ones.
okay.
And we don't really have any mean ball pythons. Don't really have any mean or defensive Colombian or Brazilian rainbow boas. Don't really have any rosies. I feel like the only animals that we have are really defensive is kind of just like the Brittles, more so because that's just kind
Really?
of
Well, they're
Okay.
little.
like
They're still
they're
Oh,
juvenile.
they're
little.
little?
So
Okay.
yeah.
So
Oh, well,
And
yeah, that's per usual. Yep.
yeah, so I really wouldn't even call it that, to be
now your
honest.
Okay.
big Brettle girl, she's kind of flighty when you first get her out. So it still takes a couple minutes for her to calm down, but once she's calmed
Yeah.
down, she's fine.
Right.
Mhm.
The
Interesting.
little, and it's really only one of the small Bredls. It's her beautiful
Okay.
female that's full hypo het stonewash. That
Yeah. I know.
man,
Yeah. I know the
that girl
hypos I
hates.
heard are like that.
She hates me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Right. Those
hates
hypos I
everything.
heard were a little bit like that.
She'll retaliate, man. Like, you'll open the tub and she'll like wrap her tail a couple times around her like perch thing, so you can't get her out. Then you're sitting here like holding the tub lid there, like trying to grab her, and she like biting the tub lid, trying to bite you. Like she don't know when to quit.
Yeah. That's I guess like the thing with my scrub too is like he's just sometimes I'm like, oh man, I have to like it's like that time of the day where I'm just like, all right, it's Monday. Guess we got to hold this guy today. I'm like, oh, I'm just, but at the same time, I know it pays off. And, especially if it's an animal that you really enjoy keeping, like say your Brettles, say it's like, even though she's a little bit, a little bit defensive right now, but just when you think about it in the long run, when they get bigger and, they get more robust, like who doesn't want a Brettles python that's large and that you could interact with. But the only way you could get there is if you put in the time.
That's right. That's right.
And that's just how it is. Sometimes they're just like that, and you have to work around with it. Because that's just how they are.
There are those individuals, but like you said, it takes that trust. They have to gain that trust.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Does your
Yeah,
scrubs,
definitely.
do they hit the glass when you're walking by, or
No, no, they
so they're
don't.
not that
My
crazy?
northern, they're not that crazy. No, but it's my scrub does that thing though. It's really annoying because like I've never really had a snake that does this. Oh well, I have, but not the same way. Like my Antaresia, like my spotted pythons, my Stimson's pythons, like they think they're different because they think everything is food. That's just what the species
Yep.
is. They
Yep.
just think everything is food, every single thing. So they've been better at it, but there's still a few times where like I'll hold them and then they'll think that like my hand is food and just start biting my hand and holding on to it. But it's not that big of a problem because their teeth are so small. Like you don't really feel anything. So it's like, okay, can you just let go?
Yeah.
But my
Yeah.
my scrub, on the other hand, like he's pretty tense a lot. He's for the most part, my northern at least, he's pretty tense a lot. So when he's on my hand, he'll be tense, but then there's times where he'll start getting comfortable and start moving around, which is a good thing. But then next thing you know, out of the blue, he'll just bite me out the blue. And I'm just like, bro, for what? I'm like, I didn't even act like my hand is still and everything, but he just bit me. I was like, okay. But at least the thing with him is that he'd only bite me once and he won't bite again. So it's not that bad. But like my
Yeah.
Barnack, on the other hand, that I got from Steven Kush, I'm like, wow, this thing is insanely different. Like I could just take him out. Like he purposely goes out of his enclosure to go to me, which is really interesting. Like if I open the tub and say like I move something, if I move him in some way or if I just like maneuver like a cork bark, he'll go out of the cage like straight like that. And then he'll just go to my hand, which is like I'm like, this is cool. I'm like, this is what a scrub could be like. So, you know, like every animal is different. But just even me just learning about defense being like snake behavior, seeing how they can be defensive sometimes is something that's a challenge to me. So I'm just continuing to get better from that and learn to learn to work my way around it and also learning how to use the hook properly. So that's something too
Yeah.
that's a skill that I'm
Yeah.
learning, which is good. Yeah, my dad, I
Have
want to talk
you
about my
caught?
dad too. He's like that. My dad like is just he's different. I don't know about you guys, but my dad, he'll just pick up anything. He'll just pick up anything. Like he'll pick up anything. And I'm just like, bro, sometimes I'm like, okay, it's really not that bad, huh? But then he just does it. And for me, I'm just like, I'm second guessing myself. Sometimes I'm like, man, he's gonna nail me right now. But my dad's just like, bro,
Mm-hmm.
just pick it up. He just picks it up. And I'm like, all right, I'll just do that. What were you
I
saying,
think it's
Ryleigh?
just like that mental block. But have you, while we're like on the topic of like defensiveness, have you gotten any like bad bites from anything?
No, like I've never really gotten. I haven't gotten bit by a big snake or anything. Just my scrub, really. My Antaresia every once in a while would bite me just cause. Um, What else? Bit by geckos multiple times. That's it. Nothing really crazy. And I'm planning for that to stay that way. Because I do not want to, like, I'm not trying to get bit by any big snakes. My dad did get bit by my carpet python a while back, like my Brettles, when I just got him like about a year ago. He got bit by my Brettles, and I'm just like, okay, let's not get bit by that because they do have big teeth. This guy's about, I think he's like 4. He's like 4 years old, almost 5, and like little big. They got some big teeth, so I'm trying to not let that happen to me. So I am very cautious. And yeah, that's not something that's fun. So I'm gonna keep it that way for sure.
That's right. Right. Nobody likes to be
Yeah.
bit, but
Nah. People say they like to. People say they don't care, but I'm like, hey man, I think you do care. You don't like getting bit by something like that. You
yeah,
don't,
yeah.
because I don't.
Yeah, I think honestly the worst bite I've ever gotten is from like a leopard gecko because they have horrible aim, and I'll be like holding a
Oh
mealworm in my hands and they'll like completely miss and they think I'm the mealworm apparently.
yeah.
But
Oh my god. For Well, at least it's not from a big
yeah,
snake, so it's okay. That's okay.
hmm true that, true that.
So
Yeah,
what's
for
next on the
sure.
radar for you, Paul?
Right now, yeah. So I've been trying to make a little bit of plans in my room. This is just my room right now. So I'm trying to. I'm always working on something. There's always something I'm working on, specifically on enclosures, and the layout of my room. So I'm planning to. It's a bit hard to see, but I'm planning for this enclosure to be at the bottom. But for that, we would need to make a custom stand because or a custom rack because there's no 4x2x2 rack shelving that will fit 4x2x2 dubia enclosure. So we would want to make something that's maybe 49 to 50 inches long of a rack. And then from there, I want this enclosure to go down. And then this empty spot right here, I'm trying to get another 5x2x2 that I'm going to stack up over here. So it's two 5x2x2s that are, stacked visually. So just the look of really big enclosures in the room is awesome. And so I just want something that fits flush there at that 5x2x2 spot, 4x2x2 here, and then these are gonna stay here. Potentially, I'm really thinking about this. I'm thinking about I want to get a 4x2x4, like the big Dubia one, because I want to make something really large for my scrub. Not that they need it right now, but I think would be really cool in the future. But the problem is right now, running into some space, of course, just making sure that I could accommodate for everything that I have, which I can right now. But that big enclosure could wait because I'm not in a big rush to do it. But this 5x2x2 that's going to be going up here, that's definitely going to be something that I'm going to build because that's doable at the moment right now. But yeah, so I'm planning to make some more enclosures, specifically that 5x2x2 that's down at the bottom. If you see the umbrella plants that are in there, that's what's going to be going into that enclosure. That'll be for my bar neck when it's that time. And that 5x2x2 that I'm getting should be for my potentially could go for my bull snake, could go for anything that's in here to be honest. But I think for my northern scrub, I think it would be nice to have a double stack of scrub pythons just right here. I think that would be really awesome. And hopefully maybe too, I know my dad has a little bit of space well, he does have a good amount of space because he has his own collection in the other room. So I know he's really wanting some Crebos or some sort of indigo, some sort of dry markon. So who knows? That could be something that's going to be there in the future. Um, yeah, so
So
it's a collective effort. It's really a collective effort in this house with my dad, with my dad and my collection. My mom is definitely here supporting us too. She says sometimes she pretends like she doesn't like the stuff that we keep, but then when she sees everything, she's like, this is really cool. I'm like, yeah. So, but at least for my dad and I, this is kind of our thing. He has his own collection in the other room. He has mine, but it is collective because he helps me build a lot of the things that I have. Specifically the rack. He's going to help me build the rack. When it comes to handling, sometimes he helps me around. For his enclosures, I help out with his enclosures too to make sure that whatever he has is the way that he wants it to be. So it's a team effort around here for sure.
absolutely
So
here too. Here too.
Yeah, and it's a very fun like to have somebody or have like a family that really enjoys like the stuff that we keep. And has my dad and I for sure like have really good ideas of what we like, and who knows, dry marcon might be coming in the way just in that other room, so we'll see. But also
So
want to add, he does like spilotes as well, like the tiger rat snakes. He loves those too. So who knows? Could be in his side sooner than later.
so what's your next snake
My
or
next
animal?
snake, man, personally, I do want to get another scrub. Personally, probably. I don't know if I want to go. I don't think I want to go to the southern scrub python route. I think I still want some. I definitely want another bar neck, or maybe some sort of another scrub python that's not really as common. Like could be the Arus, could be the Helmaheras, could be the Barnecks, could be the Beox, could be the Tandem bars. It could be any of those. To be honest, I'm very interested in. I'm very interested in any of them. To be honest, any of them. I'd be happy to have another scrub python. Or definitely, I do really. The other thing I do want are some Texas Indigos. Some Texas Indigos. I can't get Easterns here. Just nobody in Illinois has Easterns. I doubt it. So, or maybe they do. They just don't want to. They just don't want to sell them out. But I do want some Indigos, specifically probably the Texas. I do. I'm pretty interested in those Texas Indigos.
Nice,
So
nice.
probably, yeah. How about you guys? Is there anything that you guys want in your collection that you don't have yet?
Well, I would love to have a pair of Lucas Lee's Priceline Jungles because
Yeah.
those are beautiful. Like, I just love how I love that they're like
Hmm.
a line, how natural they look, and just how they look like they're just from a bush in Australia. I
Right.
love that. I really do.
They're all, yeah. They're great.
And then a
Inlands.
pair of inlands, yeah.
Inlands. Oh yeah, you got to get some inlands. Have to. They're they're awesome.
Yeah,
And
they're very, very
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. Speaking of carpets, I
But
do. Wait, go ahead.
no, you go. I don't really have anything to
Okay.
say.
I was gonna say too, like I still do want some carpets. I'm leaning more towards scrubs, of course, but if I do get another carpet python, I do want a coastal. I want a Brisbane, a locality coastal. I know there's a lot of Brisbanes out there. I would love a Brisbane coastal. I just love the coloration they have. I love their size. You know, large snakes, relatively. But if I do get another carpet, it would probably be a Brisbane coastal, more locality coastal. I think I love jungle. Jungles are really cool too. There's a lot of jungles to pick from. I do like the Palmersons. I've seen like the darker coloration of those. I think are really cool. But I think I'm leaning more towards the Brisbanes if I get more carpet pythons.
Yeah, I like the
Awesome. Awesome.
Palmersons and the Priceline. The
Yeah,
Priceline just has that dirty look, but it's a natural look. It's not the bright
yeah,
yellow and black that you typically see. And
right. Yeah, yeah. I
That
think in
is
general, just these Australian snakes are just really cool. Like even I,
but
like
you
I could just
can't
keep
beat a
going.
diamond.
You can't beat a diamond. You really can't. But I too like I love like I like Momo pythons. I think Momo pythons are really cool. Momos are really cool.
Womas are very
Blackheads are really
awesome.
cool.
Blackheads
Like
are
I
amazing.
yeah. There's so many like different things. There's just so many different animals you can get that I think are you can't have them all, but there's a lot of things that I still like would really want. You know, if I had all the space in the world, just give me all the carpets, give me some scrubs, give me some Pitchewolfus, give me some Indigo, give me some Dry Marcon. You know, like there's just a lot. There's just a lot of things that you could get. So it just never ends, but I'm cool
So on your
with what
pine
I have it
snakes,
now.
do you have them in bioactive enclosures now?
Only my Kankakee. My Kankakee is in a bioactive enclosure. I got him from Stephen Cush as well. He's about 4 feet long. Yeah, so I do have him bioactive enclosure. Everything from cork, substrate, springtails, and isopods are in there. The only one that's not yet is my pine snake, my northern pine. He's very small. He's a very small snake. So my northern pine is still, you know, in his rack. He's like not even 3 feet yet. So this tub is still pretty large for him. But I would love to. I would love to. Yeah, my enclosures too. Like I know we were talking about like the background itself. We were talking about scaping, but I just wanted to add to like the substrate and all of that is something that I do make myself. Like I mix everything myself. And springtails and isopods are used in every single one of them too.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
Very
if you
cool.
want to know about my substrate, I could let you guys know. It's a very simple substrate mix. I know a lot of people probably do it. I don't get the bag of, like the pre-made ones. I just make it myself. I think it's a lot cheaper. Organic topsoil is great. Sphagnum moss mixed in, some topsoil. Some maybe coconut fiber or husk could be good, but those are like my main three. Play sand, topsoil, sphagnum. That's like the go-to. You change the ratios up depending on if your species needs a lot more humidity. Could add some sphagnum moss in there too of if you need something a lot more humid. But generally they all use the same thing. They all use the same thing. The one There's some little additions though, like for my Brettles Python. I have that substrate, but I also use the Australian desert sand just as a topper. So like there's some red sand, like red grainier sand that's on top of the substrate, so it kind of mimics that like outbackish look, little bit of red in there, but not the whole thing. So that's something, little details that I add on to that as well. And something to add to my enclosures that are tropical do have misting systems. So this set right here and all the way down, I have a misting system that goes through there. It's just the Amazon one, like the Amazon 12-volt maybe misting system that you have to pretty much connect on your own. We have a tub, we have a bucket full of water that's just we kind of modified ourselves, and some tubing goes through all the way here, all the way down, run by a timer, goes off at 7:15 every night. So I know when that's happening. And I don't know if you guys, if you guys already do this, but I think like one of the best things in the reptile room undoubtedly is if you have enclosures, some daisy chain lighting is really awesome. I think they're probably one of the best things I have in here is the lighting in my room. It's very bright in my room. So every enclosure here just shines. You probably see the glare just around here. Like it's super bright. All the colors pop. They're all either the Sunblaster or the Arcadia Jungle Dawns. I have everything daisy chained. It all connects into one plug, at least on like this side. And also too, I do run smart plugs in my whole room. So everything is run by Alexa. Everything is run by Alexa. So if I want something to go off at a certain time of the day and go on at a certain time of the day, everything goes off and everything goes on. And the one very new thing that I have is this thing right here. These Govee temperature plugs or these temperature gauges. These are, oh my God, these are one of the best things I've ever probably invested in, because if you guys go on vacation, sometimes, you're not going to have, if you don't have anybody in here, sometimes, especially in the summer heat, or sometimes maybe when it gets too cold, you got to know the temperature of your room. And having that device like connected to the Wi-Fi and ready for me to look at my phone just allows me to make sure I could regulate the temperatures in this house, in this room at least, like, especially if it gets over 80 degrees up here, 85 actually. If it gets over 85 in my room, I shut off all the basking bulbs via Alexa, even if I'm away from home. So honestly, if any other reptile keepers listening to this,
we're a huge fan of Govee.
Yeah, you need it. It's a real necessity in a room. If you want your room to function the way you want it to function, you need all these devices. If I'm being honest, like that's one of the things that really changed the way that I kept having everything automated, from misting systems, from lights, from temperatures. It's just everything needs to be monitored, and making it, and with technology like this, is super easy to do, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg, if I'm being honest. So big game changer. So anybody that's really keeping these types of setups, and everybody that has lots of enclosures and reptiles, really needs to invest in something like this.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah.
Ryleigh, you have anything else for Paul?
Not necessarily. It's been great having you on. It's really been an honor.
Yeah.
It's been great to talk to you.
Yeah,
I
it's
surely
been
had
great.
fun. I feel like we talked about some great stuff. Got some good tips for building enclosures. But yeah, I had a
Yeah.
lot of fun, and I hope you did too.
Yeah, I really had a lot of fun. Thank you for having me. This is the first time I've ever done like some sort of reptile podcast. I guess I'm relatively new to like the Reptile Instagram and Reptile social media. I never really made something like this up until maybe last year is when I made this page, the page that I have on Instagram. I'm just wanting to share a lot of the things that I make. I wasn't actually making this to get famous or anything. Like I just wanted to show off like the things that I like, the things that I made, the way that my room looks, species that I keep. I think it's a necessity to have, like something like this, like these types of podcasts and featuring, like a lot of the people that keep, because there's a lot of people that keep that probably don't show their faces that often. I'm one of them. If I'm being honest, I don't really show my face on my Instagram as often. I think I should at this point. I think just getting to know people would be really great, and I'm glad that I'm able to help you guys with these types of advice. These enclosures I think could be made by anybody. I think you guys can make it too. So thank you for having me
Absolutely.
for sure.
Thank you for coming and joining us.
Hey, Paul, if you
Yeah,
would
thank you.
let everybody know where to find you at. I will put your Instagram profile name in the show notes, but you're on Instagram.
All right. Well, I'm on Instagram. I'm paul.n.scales. So paul.n.scales is my at. There you can see all the reptile keeping tips that I have, or any of the species that I keep. I'm going to be showing off my enclosures on there. I always show off just pretty much my animals. If that's something that you're interested in, if you love seeing enclosures that look like this, please go ahead, give me a follow, and feel free to just contact me as well on Instagram if you have any questions about anything. I'm always really happy to answer. I'm not one of those guys that kind of just leaves you behind. I'll answer if you have a question. I'll answer it. So just feel free. I'm ready to go. Just let me know.
It's been great having you,
Thank you so
Paul,
much.
and we'll have to hook up in Tinley, and
Yeah. Are you guys
see
going
you up
October?
there. Yes, sir. We'll be there
Mhm.
for sure.
Okay, just let me know. I'm so close by, so I'll definitely. It'd be nice to meet you guys in person. It would be awesome.
You're like, we're at
Absolutely.
Tinley. Okay, I'll drive down the road.
Let me know. I'm down the street.
Yeah. Can probably
Yeah,
see
for
us from
sure.
the parking lot of the convention center.
Yeah, probably. I'm probably just right there. So, uh, most likely I'll be there on a VIP. So, also too, if anybody is watching this and they do, if anybody wants to, talk to me about anything enclosure related, anything related to reptiles, things that I keep, just feel free to see us, bro. We're right here. So,
Absolutely. Everybody reach out. It's been great having you on, Paul. Thanks for the tips, and
thank you.
hope someone can learn something from this like we did. And this has
Yeah.
really been fun.
Yeah, it's been
Thank you
fun.
so
Thank you guys
much.
so much. Appreciate
Thank you,
y'all.
Paul. Enjoy your
Thank
day.
you.
Appreciate it.
You too. You guys have a great one.
Thank you.
Yep, you
Bye.
too.
Yeah.
Well, there was episode number 2. Really had a good
Episode number
time. I
2.
feel like we learned a little bit. And
Oh, yeah.
sounds like you need to go to the store and buy some foam.
True that.
All right. Everybody take care, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.